Here's where it landed for me. The guy paying $200 a month for protein powders and timing apps built the exact same amount of muscle as the woman who ate chicken, yogurt, and lentils and never once looked at a clock.
Same muscle, wildly different bank balance.
And one of them enjoyed their dinner.
I'm Maya Brooks. I coach lifters for a living, and I have watched the protein panic bankrupt perfectly sensible people.
Oliver Hart. I read the studies so you don't have to feel guilty about not reading them.
Theo Sanders. I've been training longer than some of the supplements have existed, and I'm here to tell you almost none of this is new.
So let's actually do the number, because everyone's got a number tattooed in their head, and it's usually wrong. Oliver, the industry number.
The headline you hear at every gym. 1 gram of protein per pound of body weight. So a 180-pound person, 180 grams a day.
Which sounds authoritative because it's a clean number.
Right? And clean numbers are almost always marketing, not science. The actual evidence, the big one people cite, is the 2018 meta-analysis in the British Journal of Sports Medicine, Robert Morton and Stuart Phillips at McMaster. 49 studies, over 1,400 participants.
This is the one everyone quotes and nobody reads.
Nobody reads it. And what it found is that protein above roughly 1.6 grams per kilogram of body weight gave no additional muscle benefit. 0.62, if you want the precise figure.
Translate that for the people driving.
1.6 grams per kilo. For that 180-pound person, call it 82 kilos, that's about 130 grams a day, not 180.
So the industry number is inflated by roughly 40% over what the best evidence supports.
And who profits from that 40%?
The people selling you the 40%.
But, and I want to be fair here, Phillips himself has said the 1.6 is an average, and the confidence interval ran up toward 2.2. So if you're an aggressive dieter or older, some people do land higher.
Correct. And that's the honest version. The point isn't eat less protein. The point is the ceiling is a lot lower than 180 grams for most people, and past the ceiling, you're just making expensive urine.
Expensive urine. Put that on a shirt.
Theo, you started lifting in, what, the 80s?
Late 70s, if we're being honest about my knees. And I'll tell you, the protein number has been creeping up my whole life. When I was a young man, the wisdom was, you couldn't absorb more than 30 grams in a sitting, so you rationed it like it was wartime.
Ah, the 30-gram myth. That one refuses to die.
This is the one I fight every single week. A client will not eat a proper meal because the body can only use 30 grams and the rest is wasted.
It's nonsense, and it's a beautiful example of how a real finding gets mangled. The 30-gram thing comes from muscle protein synthesis studies. The rate at which your muscle builds new protein maxes out around 20 to 30 grams in a single dose for that acute window.
So there's a real thing underneath it.
But muscle protein synthesis plateaus. Does not mean the protein vanishes. The rest is still absorbed, still used, for other tissues, for satiety, and there was a study last year, 2023, out of Maastricht, Trommelen, and Van Loon.
The 40-gram versus 100-gram one.
That's it. They gave people either 25 grams or 100 grams of protein and traced it with labeled amino acids. The 100-gram dose kept building muscle protein for far longer, well past 5 hours. There was no hard cap where the extra just got flushed.
So the giant post-workout shake isn't wasted.
It's not wasted. It's just not necessary either. You didn't need 100 grams. But the myth that it's thrown away, dead.
And practically, this is freeing. It means you don't have to eat 6 precisely spaced meals like you're feeding a wood stove.
That's the part that ruined food for a generation of gym people, turning dinner into a spreadsheet.
Which brings us to the window, the anabolic window. Oliver, land the plane on this.
The idea that you have this 30, 60-minute holy portal after training, where if you don't slam protein, you've wasted the session.
I remember men sprinting from the squat rack to their gym bag like the shake was going to expire.
And the person who did more than anyone to deflate this is Brad Schoenfeld. His 2013 meta-analysis with Alan Aragon in the Journal of the International Society of Sports Nutrition looked at whether post-workout timing actually predicted muscle gain.
And it didn't, once you controlled for total protein.
Once you controlled for total daily protein, the timing effect basically evaporated. The apparent window effect was really just the people who nailed their timing also happened to eat more protein overall. It was total intake wearing a timing costume.
So it was never the clock, it was the daily total.
There's a phrase Aragon uses I love. He talks about the anabolic window being closer to an anabolic barn door. It's hours wide, not minutes.
Schoenfeld even ran a follow-up, the pre versus post study, where one group had protein before training and one after. No meaningful difference. If you've eaten protein in the few hours around your session, you are completely fine.
Can I say the quiet part? The window was so profitable. The whole ready-to-drink shake category basically depends on the panic that you have 90 seconds to act.
Oh, it's the entire premium. Why would you pay $4 for a bottle you could have made for 60 cents at home unless you believed the 60-cent version would arrive too late?
And the numbers are staggering. The global protein supplement market is somewhere north of $25 billion a year now, and the projections have it heading toward the mid-40s by the early 2030s.
$40-something billion to solve a problem most people don't have.
To be clear, I'm not anti-powder. I keep whey around. It's convenient, it's cheap per gram, it's a legitimately good tool.
Agreed. Whey is a fine, well-studied protein. The scam isn't the powder. The scam is the story wrapped around the powder.
The urgency, the fear.
So let's do a fresh one, because this show is supposed to be about what's new. There's been a lot of chatter lately about plant protein finally being solved.
Yes, this is genuinely one of the more interesting recent threads. The old knock on plant protein was leucine content and digestibility. Leucine's the amino acid that flips the muscle building switch, and plant sources tend to be lower in it, and a bit less digestible.
This was the great meat versus beans war of the last decade.
And the evidence has shifted. There have been trials, Nunes and others, and work coming out of Van Loon's group again, showing that if you match total protein and you get enough leucine, mixed plant sources build muscle basically comparably to animal sources.
The key word being enough. You often need a bit more plant protein to hit the same leucine.
Right. It's not identical gram for gram. It's close enough once you account for the differences, which is a much more boring headline than vegans can't build muscle or meat is superior.
I've trained alongside plenty of strong vegetarians over the years. The body doesn't check your grocery receipt.
And there's a newer angle I want to flag. This idea of protein distribution across the day getting a fresh look.
The distribution question. So the conventional advice became, spread it evenly, 4 meals of 30 to 40 grams. And there was decent logic. Each meal maxes out synthesis. So more evenly spaced meals, more total muscle building episodes.
But
the real-world trials are underwhelming. There's work suggesting that for younger healthy trainees, if you hit your daily total, whether it's 3 meals or 5, doesn't move the needle much. It might matter more for older adults.
That's the population where I actually change my advice.
Because of what's called anabolic resistance. Older muscle is less responsive to a given dose of protein, so the leucine threshold per meal is higher. That's where hitting a solid protein target at each meal genuinely seems to help preserve muscle.
this is the part I feel in my bones. Literally.
Theo's our sarcopenia correspondent.
I'm the human longitudinal study. And I'll tell you, the thing nobody wants to hear at 25 is that the protein conversation gets more important, not less, as you age. Past 60, holding on to muscle is holding on to your independence.
That's not hyperbole. The research on older adults, higher protein, something like 1.2 to 1.5 grams per kilo, plus resistance training, it's one of the most robust findings in the whole field.
And it's the opposite of the marketing, right? The marketing sells the 22-year-old the highest number when the 22-year-old needs at least relative to the 70-year-old who's being ignored.
The wrong people are being sold the fear.
There's one more recent wrinkle worth naming, because it's been making the rounds. The total protein versus timing debate got a bit of fresh fuel from longevity people. The protein might be bad for you, MTOR, cancer, argument.
Oh, the Walter Longo material.
Longo's work, yes. Walter Longo at USC, the fasting mimicking, lower protein for longevity camp. And I want to be careful here because it's a genuinely live scientific debate, not settled.
The mice versus men problem.
Exactly the problem. A lot of the strongest high-protein shortens lifespan signal comes from animal models and observational data, and it tends to flip in older humans, where higher protein is associated with better outcomes, not worse. So the protein is dangerous. Headline is, at minimum, wildly oversimplified.
My take as a coach, for anyone under 65 actively lifting, the muscle you build and keep is doing more for your long-term health than any theoretical mTOR downside from a chicken breast.
I'd sign that. The effect size of have some muscle when you're old is enormous. The effect size of slightly lower protein for longevity in a healthy trainee is speculative.
Can we talk about the actual food for a second? Because I think we lose people in the grams.
Please, let's de-nerd it.
A chicken breast, 30-something grams. A can of tuna, 25. 3 eggs, 18. A cup of Greek yogurt, 20. A scoop of powder, 25. You string a few of those through your day and you're done.
That's it. For most of my clients, protein at every meal, roughly a palm to 2 palms worth, gets them to that 1.6 without a single calculation.
And notice what we just did. We hit the evidence-based target with food, no timing, no window, no $40 bottle.
Revolutionary.
Here's the thing I want to push back on, though, even against ourselves. There's a version of this, "you're being scammed" message that tips into protein doesn't matter, just eat whatever, and that's also wrong.
Very fair. The failure mode I see isn't over-supplementing. That's the loud minority. The quiet majority undereat protein badly.
Massively. The average person trying to lose weight is eating like 60 grams a day and wondering why they're losing muscle along with fat.
And that's where protein genuinely earns its reputation, in a calorie deficit. Higher protein is protective of muscle when you're dieting, and it's more satiating, so it helps you stick to the deficit. Helms and colleagues have good work on this in lean athletes cutting weight, sometimes pushing protein up toward 2.3, 2.4 grams per kilo during a hard cut.
So the number moves with the situation.
That's the honest answer nobody can put on a tub. Maintenance, moderate. Building, 1.6-ish. Aggressive fat loss, higher. Older, higher. It's a range, not a commandment.
And the tub needs a commandment, because it depends, doesn't sell.
It depends. Has never sold a single scoop of anything.
Let me give the practical version because someone's training in an hour. If you weigh yourself in pounds, aim for somewhere between 0.7 and 1 gram per pound.
With the honest caveat that the lower end of that is where the evidence is strongest and the upper end is insurance, not magic.
Right. Spread it over the day however fits your life. Don't panic about the clock. If you train fasted in the morning, eat some protein afterward within a few hours, and you've done everything the science asks.
And if you're my age, don't skim. Hit a real dose at each meal. Your future self, carrying groceries up the stairs, will thank you.
And the money bit, if you're going to buy a supplement, buy plain whey or a plain plant blend, look at cost per gram of protein and ignore anything that promises a window, anabolic surge, or a proprietary blend.
Proprietary blend is Latin for, we won't tell you how little of the good stuff is in here.
It really is.
You know what strikes me? Doing this for 4 decades, the number keeps changing, the marketing keeps escalating, and the people who actually get strong are the ones who quietly ate enough and trained for 10 years.
Consistency beats optimization, every time.
The optimizers burn out chasing the window. The consistent ones just keep eating dinner.
If I had to compress the whole episode, the headline number is inflated by about 40%, the window is hours wide, not minutes, the 30-gram cap is a myth, and the biggest real risk for most people is eating too little, not too much.
And you can do all of it with food from a normal grocery store.
The most radical thing in a $25 billion industry.
That's the episode. If this saved you $200 a month, spend it on something that actually builds muscle, like more chicken.
Or a coach who won't sell you a window.
Or just show up next week. Consistency, remember.
We'll see you then. This has been Strong Evidence. This episode was generated with AI by Demades.